Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome in for your weekly reading for Friday, September 26th through Friday, October 3rd. Happy October later this week. For those of you that are new to me, I'm Joy Giovanni, Joyful Medium. I help people get clear guidance and messages from loved ones who've already crossed over or from their own souls about their own lives. Let's dive right in. This is a little bit of a mixed bag with a happy ending this week. So this first card we've seen recently, this is this Two of Swords. This really has to do with a choice that needs to be made, and we're being asked to make that choice from a very grounded but emotionally neutral place, right? If you look at this card, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago when we saw it, this figure has a blindfold on. Justice is blind, right? Sometimes we need to not just look at what we want or what we think we want, but what is actually best in any given situation when we're making a choice. So there is likely a choice to be made, something coming up, something that really has been probably nagging you, maybe even for several weeks at this point, but really just knowing that sometimes our delay or indecision can almost take some of the choices off the table. So this really does feel like something to be paying attention to. Something's brewing, something that's needing your attention and needing a more conscious, intentional choice rather than just sitting back and letting things happen. This next card is perhaps a little guidance about this choice. The Emperor, if you notice, this Emperor holds the Ankh, or the symbol of life, ruling with this idea that everyone is equal and that there's balance, but ruling with power and strength and wanting to build industry, wanting to build success for those who this emperor rules. Well, that is part of what we're taking into consideration this week is how do we want things to look in the long term? What are we building for the future? And if we are in a position of authority or choice in this case, perhaps, we're being asked to consider more than just this current moment, but the longer term effects, the longer term implications, what we've already been through, what we've already learned, and making choices from this wise, what's good for everyone situation and not just what we might want in the moment, and considering the rest of our lives as part of these choices, even seemingly small choices that we're making right now in our day to day. This next card is Five of Pentacles. These people look all out in the cold from this church or synagogue or special building here. So there's an energy in the potential this week that you might be feeling a little bit left out in the cold, so to speak. This can be as it relates to a project that's happening, or maybe you didn't get invited to something that you were wanting to get invited to. Maybe you're feeling a little bit woe is me, feeling left out of some bigger conversations that are happening. But just knowing, just because you are outside of one door, so to speak, in this example, doesn't mean that there aren't other doors and opportunities open to you. Sometimes the thing that we believe that we want is not actually what we need or not actually in the best alignment for us. So just knowing that there is potential for growth. Five is about change, transition, transformation, and knowing that perhaps the way we used to do it is not going to work anymore. So maybe that's part of this choice. Where are you feeling a little left out in the cold? Have you stated your request, asked for what you need? Have you taken your own free will volition and tried to create what it is that you want to experience or what you need, and not just focusing on what others are letting you in or excluding you out of, right? Taking some ownership here and knowing that you do have some choices. You are free to make changes, even if change feels a little uncomfortable sometimes. And the guidance with this is the Hermit. This really has to do with going inside and sitting with that energy of your own soul, that voice of your own soul or your own intuition, getting still, right? And assessing in that way, not just taking every opinion, every outside, noisy news source, so to speak, but really tuning into your own soul's guidance here, really getting still and understanding, these two, the Emperor and the Hermit, are very big picture cards. So understanding where you've been, what's happening now as best as we can, and what you want for the future as you're making these choices and decisions this week. And sometimes Hermit can also represent a wise mentor mentor. Think of, the original imagery for this card is a wise old hermit on top of a hill holding a lantern, typically, because the hermit has already climbed and surmounted and processed and grown and been through trials and tribulations and is holding that lantern, not to give the directions to other people, but to light the way and help them on their own path that they're forging ahead. So if you have access to a mentor or a therapist or someone that can really just help shine a light and hold space for you, that's wonderful. We're not looking for someone to give us the answers. We have our own answers. And so if you are noticing in this last couple weeks, and especially during this week, that you are looking outside for answers a lot, this is extra important for you to be making sure that you're tuning within for how you actually feel and what you actually need in the situation. This last card is the happy ending I promised. It is this Sun card. This is also a major arcana card. So while these choices and changes and this out in the cold feeling, those are more minor arcana, meaning the business of our day-to-day lives. While these major arcana cards are more pivotal life moments or important turning points, thresholds, crossroads, for example. And this Sun is letting you know that these choices you're making right now really are going to set you up for this happy, bright feeling of when the sun comes out. I often highlight this little person on this horse is galloping triumphantly. The sun is also a resounding yes often, and it's saying yes to you, saying yes to what you know is in alignment, saying yes to truth. The sun often represents bringing truth to light, so maybe there is some honest looking that you need to do at some of these situations so the answer becomes clear. And these little sunflowers in the background are not to be left out, because sunflowers are the flower of mediumship. I once learned from a dear friend. And it's reminding us that we do have more behind the scenes and the unseen energy, our loved ones, our guides, our angels that are supporting, that are encouraging. No one's going to ride in, like on this card, on a white horse, right, to save the day. You're supposed to save the day. You're supposed to create the life that you desire, and you do have your answers. It is possible for you, and this is just a happy ending, resounding yes, wonderful outcome to what might seem a little uncomfortable right now if you allow yourself to make these choices from a heart-centered, honest, and truthful place. Let me know how this is rolling out for you. If you haven't already checked out my podcast, Spirit Speakeasy, I would love it if you did. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts, or also in the blog section of my website, joyfulmedium.com. Big hugs, lots of love. Bye for now.